Okay, record is on. So, all right. So tonight we're doing the review for exam 3. So, exam 3, chapters 8, 9, 11. So, the exam will look very much like the previous exams. There'll be multiple choice and problems. The I can't remember how many points it was worth, but get rid of that. But anyway, any questions before we get started? Okay. All right. So first exam question or first review question is a coefficient of variation calculation. State Street Bank has an expected return of 14%, standard deviation returns of 20%. What is State Street's coefficient of variation? So coefficient of variation is standard deviation divided by expected return. So that's 1.4320 divided by 14. Questions? All right, so the next question is cost of retained earnings question. So that's cost of retained earnings, R sub S is D1 by P0 plus the growth rate. So Tyson's Foods expects to grow at a constant rate of 5%. So that's your growth rate as long as it is in business. Tyson just paid a $6 dividend. Its current stock price is $80. What is Tyson's cost of retained earnings? So actually, the $6 is D0. So we need to grow that by 5%. So it's 6 times 1 plus the 5%. So $6.30. So our cost to retain is the $6.30 divided by 80 plus the growth rate of 5%. So that's 12.88%. Questions? It's this formula. See it right here? So it's D1, the $6.30 divided by P0 plus the growth rate of 5%. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it has to grow by it's $6 times 1 plus the growth rate. Okay. All right. So next is a weighted cost of capital, a weighted average cost of capital calculation. So Ford Motor Corporation capital structure consists of 60% debt, 10% preferred stock, 30% common equity. What is our Ford's pre-tax cost of debt is 6.5%. Its cost of preferred is 8%. Its cost of retained earnings is 12%. What is Ford's weighted average cost of capital if it has a 21% marginal tax rate? So the first thing to do is to calculate the after-tax cost of debt. That's the 6.5%, the pre-tax cost of debt times 1 minus the tax rate. So 1 minus the 21% or 0.21. So the after-tax cost of debt is 5.14%. So then all we do is we multiply the weights, the 60% debt times the after-tax cost of debt plus the 10% of weighted preferred times the cost of preferred plus the 30% common equity times the 12% cost of retained earnings. and we get 7.48%. Questions? So key with weighted average cost of capital, we need to make sure that we have the after-tax cost of debt. We use the weights that are given and multiply them times the respective cost, the cost of preferred, cost of retained earnings, and so forth. Any questions? You didn't, what, I don't know what to, you didn't get that? You didn't get 5.14? What did you get? But if you multiply the 6.5 by 0.79 or 1 minus 0.21, that's what you should get. Yes. Yes, your taxes are a percentage of your and so the debt is the debt payments are deductible from your taxes. So that's why you reduce them by your taxes. Okay. Anybody else? All right. So the next is a CAPM question. The Lycos Corporation has a beta coefficient of 1.5. Expected return on the market is 14%. Risk-free rate is 4%. What is Lycos's required rate of return? This is one of the methods for calculating cost of retained earnings for in the book. So so it's risk-free rate. We're going to, since we have the expected return on the market, we'll use the top formula here, the risk-free rate plus the beta times the expected return on the market minus the risk-free rate. And need parentheses, and we get 19%. Anytime you see beta in the risk-free rate, you can be guaranteed you're going to be using the capital asset pricing model. And this will be one of these formulas. If you're given the expected return on the market, it's going to be the top formula. If you're given the market risk premium, it'll be the bottom formula. Questions? All right. So next is cost of new common equity. When we calculate cost of new common equity, we need to consider the flotation costs. So we multiply the price of the stock by 1 minus the flotation costs. So 3M Corporation stock currently trades $100 per share. The stock expects to pay an $8 dividend this year. The stock has perpetual growth rate of 4%. What is 3M's cost of new common equity if it pays a 7% flotation cost? So we got a P0 is the $100 stock price. It expects to pay is D1, so that we've got the correct dividend, and the growth rate is 4%. So it's going to be the dividend, $8 divided by, we need parentheses, so 100 times 1 minus the flotation cost minus the 7%, and then we add the 4%. Whoops, what did I? Oh, I need one more parenthesis. Oh, go away. There we go. There we go. 12.6%. So the parentheses are critical here. You need to make, because if you don't have them, you'll be dividing by the stock price and then multiplying it all by 1 minus the flotation cost. So questions? All right. So next, the is a NPV calculation. They Charlie's planning to buy a small apartment complex. The complex will cost $1 million. They will generate $450,000 in profits over the next 3 years. The complex is will also need $50,000 in renovations during year 4. Charlie's required rate of return is 17%. What is the NPV of Charlie's investment, and should Charlie purchase the apartment? So equals NPV, and so the rate is 17%, comma, and we capture the cash flows after the initial cost, and then add back the initial cost, and we get negative $32,369.27. So the negative, since it's negative, you would not purchase the complex. It's an indication that the rate of return is less than Charlie's required rate of return of 17%.
So for the answers on those, the finding or the pay, if it's negative, do you want us to put a negative number, or do you want
You want to do it just like this? For this answer, it would be negative 32,369.27. That's how it'll be entered in. And it,
negative symbol? Just put the negative.
Yeah, negative symbol, like it's, yeah, with the commas and decimals.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So, and then the here, we go back here. I put comma in. There we go. That's what it. So, you know, there's all different ways to enter things. We could use dollar signs and percent signs, but we never will. It's my feeble effort to simplify things. So, but that's a good question.
Dr. Hamby, so seeing the negative, so it's making 1.3 mil. Is it because of the rate of return that he should not purchase it? That's the main issue.
Because it's negative. It's because of negative number.
But like,
it's
if
you get a negative NPV, you would not purchase you do not purchase.
I guess
Okay.
I'm looking at it like, just, you know, if someone didn't do the NPV and they're looking at, hey, I put in $1 million and I'm making 1.3, but it's the rate of return that's causing him not to do it because it's too great.
Well, it's yes, it's the return on the investment. Whether it's the investment is not generating enough enough income to pay, you know, Charlie's business's cost of operation. Okay.
Okay.
So
That makes sense. Yeah.
based on the risk of that, you know, and so forth. Okay. So Charlie has a cost of capital, and his, you know, based on his cost of capital, the required rate of return for this project is 17%. So he would but the, you know, when we're calculating NPV, I personally, I like to keep it simple and say, if it's positive, you zero or positive, you would add the project. And if it's negative, you would not.
Yep, that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. No, because I mean, one of the things, and the chapter talks about it, is that, you know, IRR is extremely unreliable, but it is the most widely used methodology for evaluating projects, and it's like, oh, it's kind of like there's I don't know if you want to call it a level of ignorance in corporate America, but if you think about how many projects, you know, I don't know, the Tesla factory over by the airport, they've been building on that thing for what, 5 years? So at least so they've been putting money into that factory, and you know, is it profitable yet? But I promise you, for the first 3 or 4 years, there were negatives, and that with those 3 or 4 years of negatives, every one of those negatives generates another IRR that solves the equation for the profitability of that project. So it's you know, you would hope that Elon Musk is smart enough to use NPV, but who knows? You know,
So it's basically like IRR is a way for them to put bad money on bad money continually.
so I mean, it's simple, and it's simple, and that's you know, and it's, I mean, you know, and that's why it's so widely used. The NPV is harder to follow, and you know, and having a simple rate of return makes it easy for them to understand. This is the best explanation I can come up with. But it does lead to flawed decision making. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Sorry. All right. So so for this payback and discounted payback period calculation. So, and payback takes things back even before we had internal rates of return or could easily calculate them. The payback was used because it was like, you know, when do I get my money back? And the companies would set parameters and so forth. So for and then discounted payback was introduced to address the flaws. But anyway, Nancy's considering buying 200 acres of land for $2 million. She expects to lease the land to a farmer, which will result in profits of $175,000 in the first year, $500,000 for the next 2 years, and $550,000 in years 4 through 7. What are the payback period and discounted payback period on the investment? If Nancy's required rate of return is 12%. So we just take the cash flow and we add it to the cost, and you know, so after year 1, there's $1,825,000 left, and then we add back and then once we get down to the point where, all right, that we're after 4 years, we've got 275,000 left. So our payback period is going to be 4, and then we want to minus, because the 275 is a negative, and divide it by the cash flow in year 5, and we get 4.5 for the payback period. So for the discounted payback period, we calculate the present values, and so the we take that the cash flow and we divide it by 1 plus the required rate of return, and we need to make that absolute and cure it. And so, and then since it's the 0 power, it doesn't change the number. So now we do the same thing here, take our cash flow and add back the initial cost, and then so now I can drag it down here. Okay, so it's going to be so after 5 years, so after 6 years, sorry, there's 148,000 left, so it's 6 minus the 148,000 divided by the 248,792.07. So that's 6.60 years. Questions? All right. This is a beta calculation. We've got various investments with different betas. So what we'll do is we'll calculate the weights and then apply those weights to the respective betas and add them up, and that'll give us the beta of the portfolio. So the Yona portfolio that consists of the following stocks: JP Morgan, Microsoft, Gulf, and there's amount invested in each is 300,000, 500,000, 200,000 respectively, and their respective betas are 2, 1.4, and 1.1. So I've recreated the table down here. So the amount invested adds up to $1 million. So we take each of the amount and we divide it by the total investment. So, and then to make that absolute, we can just drag this down. And so now we multiply each weight times the beta, and then we drag down, we add them up. 1.52 is the beta of that portfolio. Questions?
Can we just have the entire test on that? That'd be great.
Say that again.
Just if we could have the entire test on that, that would be great.
Okay. I'll work on that. All right. So next is internal rate of return and modified internal rate of return calculation. George is considering investing in a project that costs $3 million. The project is expected to produce $1 million in revenue over the next 6 years. What are the other project's IRR and MIRR if George has a 20% required rate of return? So we've got the cash flows here. So IRR equals IRR. And in this case, IRR would be reasonably accurate. The one potential flaw is that it assumes that reinvestment is going to occur at whatever the IRR is. So 24.29% is the IRR. So now MIRR. So we capture all the values, And then we've got to add the finance rate and the reinvestment rate. So all of our problems will always have one rate of return, but we have to include them twice in MIRR formula. Lights just went out. There we go. I guess I'm not moving enough. All right, so 22.08%. So the modified internal rate of return is assuming that the cost of financing the project is 20% and the cost and the reinvestment is 20%. So the 22.08 gives us a more realistic number for given the capital structure, Georgia's capital structure. All right, so all right, okay. So this is a pre-tax and after-tax cost of debt. First, pre-tax cost of debt is the yield to maturity. And then after-tax cost of debt, we multiply by 1 minus the marginal tax rate. So excuse me. Union Pacific has 30-year bond outstanding with a $1 million face value, 6% semi-annual coupon rate. Current market value of the bonds is $950,000. If Union Pacific has a 30% marginal tax rate, what are Union Pacific's pre-tax cost of debt and after-tax cost of debt? So the semi-annual, so 30 times 2 is our N. We're calculating IY. The PV is the market value, the 950,000 entered as a negative, and then the payment is $1 million times the coupon divided by 2, because we're paying semi-annual, and then the future value is the value of the bond, and then equals rate. So go up here. So number of periods, comma, payment, comma, PV, comma, future value, and then close parens. So 319. That's a semi-annual rate, and multiply that by 2. There you go. 6.38% is the pre-tax cost of debt. And so the after-tax cost of debt is the pre-tax cost of debt times 1 minus marginal tax rate of 30%. So 4.46% is the after-tax cost of debt. Questions? All right, so the IRR calculation, Big Sean wants to buy an oil well. Tupac is willing to sell one of his oil wells for $3 million. The well should produce for another 10 years. It's expected to generate profits of $600,000 annually for 6 years and $500,000 for each of the last 4 years. What is the IRR of Tupac's investments? So equals IRR. And so we've got 3 million and then 600,000 in profits for 6 years and 500,000 for 4 years. So we just highlight all the cash flows and get 13.97%. Questions? Okay, next we're going to calculate expected return and standard deviation. So Lucy owns G stock. She estimates the following returns are likely depending on the state of the economy. We got recession, normal, and boom with respective probabilities of 30%, 50%, 20%. Payoff in a recession of 2%, payoff in normal time 12%, and boom, 20%. And we've recreated the table down here, so we calculate we multiply the probabilities times the payoff and add them up, and that'll give us the expected returns. So we sum these. Our expected return is 10.6%. And now the variance is calculate the variance, and we'll take we take the probability and we multiply it by the payoff minus the expected return, and then the function f4 to make it absolute, and then we square it. So the 100 years ago, people didn't square the deviations, and then they realized that they were understating the variation because positive and negative deviations were offsetting each other. If you square the deviations, it makes everything positive, and it gives you a clearer picture of the deviation. So we from those, and then we take the square root, SQRT, okay. You can also do we can take it to the 1/2 power. So same thing as a square root. Probably be better if I didn't have a 9 in there, another parenthesis. Okay. Either way works. Questions? All right, so next is cost of preferred. So the key with preferred is figuring out whether it's existing or issuing. In this case, we're issuing, so it'll be the cost of new preferred. So if we were not issuing, we would eliminate the 1 minus the flotation cost there. So Goldman Sachs is issuing preferred stock. The stock will pay a $5 dividend, has a market value of $65. What is Goldman's cost of preferred stock if it pays a flotation cost of 6%? So we take our dividend, the $5, and we divide it by, we need parentheses, the share price times, we need parentheses, 1 minus the 6% flotation cost. So you're multiplying the share price by 0.94, and so 8.18% is the cost of preferred. All right. Okay. Sorry. Any questions about preferred, cost of preferred, cost of new preferred? All right, last question here. So this is one of the homework problems. It's obviously changed, but you given everything but the beta, and you have to solve for the beta. So, and then it turns out that the market risk premium is greater than you think it is. So what happens to the required rate of return when the market risk premium changes? So you calculated the required rate of return for Microsoft stock to be 14% based on a risk-free rate of 4% and a market risk premium of 6%. Was Microsoft's beta coefficient? What is required rate of return for Microsoft if the market risk premium is 8%? So if we do some algebra, so our market risk premium is 6%. So our beta, if we rearrange the equation, the beta is going to be equal to the required rate of return or expected return minus the risk-free rate divided by the market risk premium. So in this case, it would be 14 minus 4 divided by 6. So the 14% minus the 4%, and then we divide by the market risk premium, and that gives us a beta of 1.67. So if it turns out that market risk premium is 1.67 instead of, the market risk premium is 8 instead of 6, that means that the required rate of return is going to be 4 plus the beta times the new market risk premium of 8%. We're just reusing the second formula here. So 17.33%. You've got 90. Let's see, what did you do? Oh, well, yeah, we're almost finished. We'll figure it out when we get off here. So, does anybody have any questions?
Could you hover over the market risk premium 2 formula?
It's just given.
Oh, that's right. I'm
Yeah,
sorry
it's
about
just
that.
it's given. Yeah. So the beta, the only two things to calculate here, the beta, and then you recalculate the required rate of return based on the new market risk premium.
Is that the
Gotcha.
only formula that you could use for beta, or is that something that you just have to restructure to find beta?
Well, you could use. I mean, I probably in this case, it's the only in this problem, it's the only formula you could use. If that's so, if I wanted to be cruel, I could give you this problem with the expected return on the market, but I'm not that cruel, but because it would require a lot more algebra. But
Thank you.
okay. Any other questions? All right. Exam is available Thursday. If that's a problem, shoot me an email and we'll figure out, if there's a date that works better for you, let me know. It's the, it's certainly flexible. You know, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is fine if you want to take it then. You just need to pick a day and let me know. Okay. If there aren't any other questions, I'll let you go. Good luck on the exam. Let me know. I posted all the answers to the homework problems. I will go through in the morning and catch up on the discussion posts. I've done most of chapters 8 and 9, and I need to do 11, but I will get those taken care of first thing tomorrow morning. And if you have any questions on any of those problems or any of these problems, feel free to ask me. Or if you don't like the way I explain things, you're more than happy to ask Stephen, or more than welcome to ask Stephen. So, whatever works for you is fine with me. All right. We all have a good evening. Good luck on the exam.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you.
Dr. Hannah, probably be emailing you a time to reschedule for the test as well.
That's
Just a heads up.
perfectly fine.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure. No problem.
I appreciate that. Have